Hello, my friends. We are back with another guest episode. And this episode is the first ever of its kind in the history of Ask a Sex Therapist because I am introducing my new associate. So welcome to Kristin Vyas. Kristen is a sex and intimacy coach, and she's officially joined the Ask a Sex Therapist team. So if you love her, which you will, we'll link in the bio to how you can book a free consultation with her to talk about coaching. But welcome, Kristen. How are you?
Good. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Kristen and I were just starting to talk about good stuff, and I was like, no more good stuff, Kristen. We have to hit record. Save it for the audience. But one of the things you were saying is that erectile dysfunction is an issue that you help clients with so often and are really comfortable working with. I kind of have two questions. Why do you think this is such a common issue? And then what approaches do you think help people the most?
Well, I think this is such a common issue. I mean, this really starts back in childhood, right? We don't have good sex education.
Oh my God.
And we get all of our information. I mean, it's definitely gotten better, but we don't really get a comprehensive idea of what sex really looks like. We have, TV, we have movies, we have adult content.
Mm-hmm.
And in all of those things, the penis is kind of the main character. And
yeah, it is. You're right.
And so when there are problems, I mean, we're dealing with like this body part that is actually really sensitive to mood and, anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that kind of, we're using this as like a scorecard of masculinity. So if you're not rock hard the entire time, you're a failure.
God. I hate this for men. Like, it just sucks. Like,
Yeah.
you're right. It's like, here's this, sexual organ that you have, but now this is going to be like your whole identity and self-worth. And by the way, like, nothing fun can happen without it. And, it's an enormous amount of pressure if you look at it that way.
Yeah. And they completely get into their heads instead of being in their body. And they forget like, oh yeah, my penis actually isn't the main character. Like it's pleasure and connection that we're really going for, not finishing.
Okay, say more about that, because I'm kind of fascinated by this main character idea. I like that phrase. So what does it mean to make pleasure or connection the main character versus penis?
Well, I think we have this idea when we come in and where people come in and have sex, it's like, okay, I need to have an orgasm. I need to last really long.
Yeah.
I need to, come from vaginal penetration alone. I also need to squirt. So it's like, you also have to put on a water show. Instead of, wow, here's a person in front of me. And every chapter of what we're going to do can be wonderful and exciting. I get to uncover who this person is and who I am with this person. I'm going to like things and you're going to like things, and some of it might match up. A lot of it might not match up, but we're going to create a story together. And what is this story? How can we make each other feel really good?
Yeah, that sounds like you're coming from just such like a loving space with that perspective, and I feel like that gets lost, unfortunately.
It really does.
Yeah.
I recently had somebody came in, they were complaining about erectile dysfunction, and I talked to both him and his partner.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk to her, I mean, first of all, he was describing mind-blowing sex. Like he was describing everything they were doing. And I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah, people would be happy about that. Yeah, I've had that too, where I'm like, what's the problem?
It was like, you sound like an amazing lover. Like, are you hearing what I'm hearing right now?
Yeah.
And then she came in alone, which I love because I love talking to people separately. So I can really get their kind of like unfettered, take on what they think is happening without their partner there. And his partner was just like, yeah, like it's awesome. If he wasn't worried about his penis, like occasionally getting soft during sex, like it wouldn't even be on my radar.
Wow.
And how do I support my partner? Because actually his anxiety was taking him so much out of the moment that she was kind of left there.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a second, I want to have sex with you. Like your arms
Yes.
around me and everything else we do, and our communication is so top notch. And yet this story that was running of like, oh my gosh, I am not rock hard in every single situation, was just ruining it. And
That's
as women, or as people with vaginas, our arousal goes up and it goes down, and nobody really has to know.
right.
It's not a big part of the story. We can just kind of ride that. And it's so normal. It's like, oh, you're not as, wet right now. Well, here's a little lube. End of
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
And so we can freely move through those waves without really causing a stir. But because the penis is such a visual, like, oh my gosh, I can't, penetrate. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So calm down.
Yeah.
Let's refocus.
Yes.
And my biggest takeaway, like when we really get to a good place with erectile dysfunction, in the office, I always tell people, like, this is going to be your practice. You want to welcome this happening. And they always look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah. Like, what are you smoking?
Yeah. But instead of looking at it like, oh my God, here comes this disaster, it's like, oh yeah, here's my practice. I need to refocus. What's going on in my body? What's going on up here? Is there something going on? And if there is, that's okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm really, really worried right now about work. Or I'm still thinking about that fight that we had, and I'm still holding on to some resentment. That's okay. Take it in. Refocus on your partner. And remember, this is just a thing that we're doing. We're connecting. Even if you have to stop.
Totally. There's so many like good little juicy bits in here. Like one thing I'm hearing is the self-fulfilling prophecy, where he was actually doing just fine. His partner was like quite happy.
Yeah.
But then in his mind, he was like, I'm not doing good enough. And then because he was in his head, he actually wound up semi-abandoning her. And then she wasn't super fulfilled. So I think that's so important for people to realize that like our thoughts are really powerful and we get to choose them. And, they do impact the results that we have. So I don't know. I love that you're giving people nicer feeling thoughts, basically, is what I'm hearing. Like, you're a whole person. You are not just a penis.
Yeah.
And I know for myself, guys ask a lot about penis size, and I get it because society is telling them it's the main character. I'm totally stealing that, by the way. They're talking about the main character that's like, oh, rate my penis. Is my penis good enough, this or that? And it's like, at least for me, and I think for most women probably, it's like, I'm more interested in the person the penis is attached to,
Yeah. Well,
like,
and if all you're bringing to the situation is an enormous penis, like you're going to be pretty disappointing. There's so many other things that we need besides whatever is going on below the belt.
Yes. So I guess it's not to say that like, oh, the penis doesn't matter. It's just kind of like putting it in the proper perspective that like who you are as a human is always going to be more important than what your penis is doing or how big your penis is or how hard it is,
Yeah. It's like, first, let's start with how well are you attuning to your partner?
Yeah.
Let's talk about kissing and touch and checking in and, all of these other things that really can make you such a great erotic lover rather than, wow, here's my penis.
Yeah. I like that. It's like, I also think it's fun in our jobs. Like someone comes in for one thing and it's like, yes, I will help you get your penis working better, but also all these other things that don't center the penis,
Yeah. 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 Like maybe we can talk about the fact that like we need to maybe work on some eye contact, or like just, yeah. There was something else I was going to say, but I forgot.
Well, I think the thing that I'm taking away from what you're saying so far is like just being a whole person, but then also seeing your partner as a whole person, because really what's happening is like you're kind of like objectifying yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
which is interesting. And I think that like we internalize all these messages, like you said, from movies, from porn, whatever, that are not always serving us. And so it's like step one is to realize that you've internalized it.
Yeah. And there's so much pressure, and it's so understandable, because even, if a man is having sex, or somebody with a penis is having sex and their erection goes down, their vagina having partner can immediately jump to, what's wrong? There's something wrong with me. They're not
yes.
me.
Yes.
So you've got pressure with the person that knows, like, oh, great, now I'm disappointing her. So that really feeds in. And then they don't realize, like, when you watch adult content, there's, millions of takes, and there's Viagra. And also these men are typically not chosen because of their looks. It's penis size and how well they can perform with tons of people around.
Yep.
There's something that I always say in my office is we don't watch Star Wars so that we can learn about space.
Oh my God. It's analogies.
It's a movie. We watch it because it's fun, right?
Yeah.
We're not like, wow, okay, so how does this all work here? But that's what we do with adult content, because there's nothing else.
Yeah, we don't have. Thank God for podcasts, honestly, because we are censored. Everyone listening, keep listening to this. Listen to all the sex podcasts you can, all the podcasts in general, because it's the only place that creators are not censored. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like, I get censored on every single social media platform, which is why I don't post a lot.
Yeah.
It's discouraging to be like, oh, I'm going to put some care into creating this thing. And then, the views will be downregulated. But at least podcasting is a space where people can actually learn. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. And so many people really aren't aware of that, especially, people in their, like late teens or 20s, where you're really just starting to actually have sexual partners.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching content.
Oh, 100%. Because you're curious. And I think that's normal. I remember being a teenager. This was so funny. I don't know if I've told this on the podcast. My mom and my stepdad at the time sat me and my brother down, because my stepdad was like good with computers. And they were like, somebody's been visiting porn sites. I'm like, oh shit, it was me. And I think they automatically thought it was my brother because he was a boy, which is also so interesting. And then like decades later, my brother and I were like, it was both of us. Terrible shaming conversation, which of course they probably meant well and thought they were protecting us or something. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. How can we give kids helpful info?
One thing I think they can do is that, like, a lot of people have the sex talk, right? And then it's like, okay, well, that's done. And it's like, no, this should be an ongoing dialogue as your child gets older and older, because they're going to have different questions. They're going to hear things at school. And if your child, whatever age they are, happens upon adult content, I think what people forget, because people get so scared, like, oh my God, they saw something. It's like, okay, let's have a conversation. Like, what did you see? And talk about, like, wow, okay, that's interesting. Let's talk about how that is different from real life. Maybe not everybody squirts like that, or maybe not everybody wants to be choked. Let's start there.
Right. That's kind of an issue.
Oh, yes. The way people are just ready to just wrap their head around the neck
without asking them first.
Yeah. So, and that's a whole other thing of, like, mainstream porn weaving in elements of BDSM with absolutely zero context, no negotiation, no consent, just like, yeah, this is what everybody's into. It's scary.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything against adult content, obviously, but there just needs to be a dialogue, because people are still watching it like it's a documentary.
Correct. And some adult content is more
Yes.
consent focused, or I'm trying to think which one. I think there's some of the like kink.com ones where like at the end they kind of show the performer saying her actual opinion of how things went or something. And you're like,
Yes.
oh, okay, that's a nice touch. And then I know there's like the Make Love Not Porn website, which is like actual couples. And so I like that one because you see some of the awkwardness.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just like, oh, normal people still having a great time. Yay. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Although I find that unfortunately the most accessible porn is stuff that doesn't have that.
No,
Because it's not behind a paywall. So you have these, like teenagers, they have phones, you discover it. And it has to be a secret because they're, they're thinking, oh my God, my mom and dad are going to kill me if they find out that I'm watching this. Instead of being like, you know what, I actually stumbled upon something and I have questions.
Very, very good points that you're making. And I mean, I've said on the show before, like, pay for your porn, I had a former Brazzers producer on who left the industry, and he was talking about that. He's like, and also just the AI. I don't know. There's just a lot happening.
Oh God, yeah, AI, right? So there's no consent there.
Are we going to start attracted to humans? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think paying for your porn is so important. I mean, if you are, especially when you're paying the creator directly, I mean,
yes,
I'm not a huge fan of the way OnlyFans treats its, the people that basically pay their bills. But, these are people that are running their own pages. They are consenting to everything. They're deciding, what do I want to do? Who do I want to work with? These things are very important, and you're actually paying somebody directly. And so you have, even if you never speak to that person, you have this relationship of like, oh yeah, I'm supporting this person right here, which cool. I think makes a difference.
I think so too. It's more personal.
Yes.
Yeah. Human to human. Okay, so let's get into some of your other expertise areas. So kink, and we also talked about shame. And I don't know if you want to talk about those together or separately, but
definitely together.
Okay, great. So what kind of things do people come to you with when it comes to kink? Like, what are people struggling with?
I would say these days they come in and there's, first tons of shame over the thing that they're into. Yeah. And they come up against like a couple of different scenarios. Either they have told their partner and it really didn't go well. Or they're kind of living this double life where they have this huge kink and it has to be totally separate because I could never tell my wife or girlfriend about this. And so first, like unraveling that shame is a huge part of the process. And so, you find out whatever somebody is into. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter what the kink is. You have to just drill down to like how they want to feel. Oh, because if you take like a million billion kinks and they all funnel down to these real core desires of how people want to feel, which are very common everyday human feelings that people like to feel. And so that really normalizes it for people and helps them like, oh yeah, okay, like I'm into this thing, but how I want to feel is actually really normal. And when you can understand that about yourself, that gives you a much clearer pathway into talking to your partner about what you like and why you like it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so true. I just met with a new client, and part of what they're going to be addressing is one of their kinks, and the other one knows about it, so that's helpful. But the emotions that they were talking about, it's like, when we did engage in this more often, even when it wasn't super often, it was like, oh, I feel more connected. This is the closest I've felt you in the history of our relationship. And so it was about connection and closeness and, sharing this part of yourself that you don't really share with other people and feeling seen and accepted for, it's actually quite lovely.
Yeah, that what you just said about being seen is such a huge part of it. Imagine you're going, 20, 30 years into a marriage, you're super into this thing, and your partner is just not seeing you, not seeing that part of you. That can be, I mean, especially if you have like a fetish, when it's just an enormous part of your sexuality that almost it's either you have to be doing it or you have to be thinking about it in order to really enjoy yourself. And for that to just be hidden.
Yeah, I know. It's super tough. And I mean, this was something, I'm not going to get into my specifics, but this was something I saw a hypnotherapist for a while, and some of the sexual inclinations came up, and I remember being like, is this healthy for me? Is this like okay? And it was so helpful to like have someone supporting and going through that process with me, because I realized like, oh, this is actually healthy for me. This is a part that maybe otherwise doesn't get to experience, because I think of things in terms of parts, you know, as an IFS therapist, but this is a part that's like, you know, getting to come out and play, you know, and have pleasure. And it's like, yeah, that's good. We want to integrate our parts, you know, but it's also figuring out kind of the container, you know, like what is the container they can safely play in. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think when you really drill down to those, you know, core desires, and like if somebody's not into your thing, that whole process of like, how do we work with this? You know, can we make a bridge and, you know, weave it in, or do we take turns? And I think a lot of times kink, you know, it can become such this like huge part of your, you know, brain. And then when you finally get to do it, it's like a valve. It's like, oh wow, I was really seen and accepted, and I got to like do this thing, and I got to feel this thing. And it can actually become much more manageable when you actually have like a real outlet with your partner.
Yeah.
Something that you feel like, oh my God, I think I have to do this all the time. Maybe not. Maybe just being able to be seen, just depending on what the kink is, if it's more intense, just being able to do it.
Yeah, like feeling accepted. Like, okay, now they know they're not running away from me. There's to some degree embracing this part. I love that. Can I ask, like, what do you think are some of the more common kinks or fetishes that people struggle to share with partners? Just because I kind of want to just like normalize it for anyone listening.
I would say anything related to bodily fluids, age play, cross-dressing is a big one, because it's so common, and there's just so much fear. It really goes into, again, just how much pressure there is on men to just be this like ultra, you know, boy, masculine, burly, tough. And I mean, I've worked with so many cross dressers in my career. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like women's clothes are softer. There's more pants, there's more styles. Like they're pretty, you know.
Impressive.
And you know, if you really love tapping into that, like, how do you keep that a secret? And yet people do, you know. And there's like all these horror stories of clients coming in and saying like, oh my God, you know, she found my like box in the back of the closet that had like all my panties in there, or you know, all of my like clothes, or you know, I ordered something and she got the mail and she was like, you know, this isn't my size. And it's because it was for him. And then, you know, and then their, you know, female partner is like, oh my gosh, are you gay? Or what does this mean? And just, I mean, just the shame is just overwhelming.
Yeah. This was a client that made me want to become a sex therapist. I had a cross-dressing client, and just realizing how kind of intense it can feel emotionally, and the shame, and how important it was to have like a safe space to discuss that was very impactful.
Yeah. So I would say, you know, and like anything taboo, anything that society deems is like, ew, you know, you're into pee, or, you know, it's just, you know, there's like
cuckolding. What do you think about that? I know it's getting kind of more mainstream.
Oh,
But
cuckolding? Oh, yeah, I definitely think that's mainstream.
but I think people can still struggle with sharing that one.
Oh, yes, because
Yeah.
again, this is like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be masculine enough. It's
Yeah.
like there's so many things that are deemed emasculating.
Yes. There's a theme emerging here in this conversation.
Yeah, and it really, I mean, I feel like, women have their own, mountain of struggles that they have to deal with. But I think one thing that is not talked about enough is just the humongous amount of pressure on men.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
everything that we've talked about today with men's issues
Mm-hmm.
just is like, I'm not masculine enough. If I do this, nobody's going to think that I'm a man. And women don't, this is the one thing that where we actually get, we sort of have an advantage.
I agree. I'm like having this conversation. I'm like, this is an area where I'm glad I get to be in a female body.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Do you want to dress masculine? Go ahead. Do you want to kiss a girl? No problem.
Yes.
It's just, you could go out, you can kiss a girl, you can come back and you could be like, yeah, that was really fun. I don't think that really defines who I am, or I don't feel like I need to make a decision about myself. I just went and enjoyed myself and now here I am.
Yeah.
Like if you have a penis and you are identifying as a heterosexual cis man, you say, oh, I went out, I got drunk, kissed my best friend. It was super fun. And now I'm going to go about my day. What kind of reaction are they going to get?
Yeah.
Oh my God, are you bi? Are you gay?
Right.
And
are men even allowed to be bi?
No. Gotta pick totally gay or totally straight. That's it.
God, it's crazy. I mean, when I did my sex therapy training, we had a class where we explored gender. And one of the things that came up was that it's like there's a box of what female looks like, and there's a box of what like male or masculine looks like. But the male box is just so much smaller, It's like in the female box, like you said, we can be a tomboy, we can wear makeup, we cannot, we can have short hair, we can have long hair, we can wear dresses, we cannot wear dresses, and it's like there's all these options of how to like express who you are in a female body as someone recognized as female. But yeah, for men, it's like it's kind of like one way.
Yeah. And it's, when people talk about gender, I mean, and I know this with a lot of like younger clients, and I have a teenager, and so I talk about it with them too. But it's like, what am I? Am I male, female? Am I non-binary? Am I gender non-conforming? It's like, you can if it helps you to have a label, that's fantastic. But just remember, like, just kind of keep it in your mind. Like, we made all this up. Like, we got these parts.
Yes.
But, if I ask my cat, like, so are you a man or a woman or, male, female? Just be like, what are you talking about? I'm just living in the world here.
Right. It's just, I know it's very crazy. And I am excited that, I think some like celebrity men are just like playing with fashion more and like wearing or dresses and painting their nails. And I think especially when they're successful or when they're like muscular or whatever, they can get away with that more. And so I think that like it's a way to push the envelope. Yes, they're still holding on to some of the kind of like this is what masculine is trappings, but I think it's still progress that we're pushing the envelope a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. When I talk to younger people about their sexuality, it's almost the same thing where they want to put themselves in a box because it feels very grounding. And it's like, your sexuality is like a universe. It's going to change and grow and morph into different things. And if you just allow that to come in, like first start with like, how do I feel?
Yeah.
How do I feel today? Who do I want to spend my time with? Who am I really attracted to? And that can turn into something else slowly over time.
Amazing. I feel like you should be in charge of sex ed for the country. Like, I feel like if I had somebody like you doing sex ed, I would have felt so much more comfortable as like a teenager.
Can you imagine what the current administration would do?
I'm imagining, and that is scaring me a lot. And that's why I'm like, at least we have podcasts. It's like the one thing I'm holding on to. But
my mother-in-law will be like, you should write a letter and you should talk about, what needs to happen. I'm like, my letter is going to be thrown right in the trash right now. It's not.
Well, and like some
to the government.
other like sex coach colleagues are like literally like, how do I get out of this country? And like, can I just go be in Europe? And I mean, I'm getting a citizenship in Croatia. I'm working on it. Just as plan B. Plan A is still to stay here. But,
Okay. Plan B, Croatia.
well, I live in Florida. So also like, we're a little extra special here and, have an abortion ban in place where it's like, 6 weeks.
Oh my God.
So it's just nuts. So we're needed. We need to just keep talking about this.
Yeah. I mean, it's moving. Like this boulder is finally moving. I mean, sex ed, when I was a kid, I mean, I think you got it in like the 5th grade. And then there was a little snippet in high school of basically like, here's all the diseases you can get and please wear a condom and like, you're on your way, But, and so now, I mean, even in 5th grade, like the curriculum is much, much better.
Oh, that's encouraging. Okay.
Like
where you live, probably not in Florida.
It's definitely better. Like I was, I mean, I have, 2 kids that have gone through elementary school now. And so looking at I, read everything that comes through and I'm always so excited, like, oh my God, what are they talking about? And it's definitely better. I would say it's pretty good at the elementary school level, like high. And I feel like they do something in 9th grade too. I can't remember now, but, I mean, there's still no talk about pleasure.
No, just too thing to people.
They do talk about consent. One thing that I really wish that they could cover is just communication.
Yes. Oh, let's talk about that.
Like, I think people meet, you meet a partner and at first it's just all fantasy, right? It's just new relationship energy. You're like your best commercial, they're their best commercial, it's all lies. And then you really get down into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
But in that real kind of beginning stage, how fun is it to just be like, what do you like? Like, let's have a conversation about sex before we even have sex. Like, what's fun? What's really juicy for you? What do you like to feel? And I know that people with more extreme kinks, that's when the fear really sets in of like, oh my God, this is such a wonderful person. They're my perfect partner. I could never tell them what I'm really into. And so it immediately gets filed into the things my partner should never know.
Right. Yes. This is what in FS we call this exiled parts. You just like shove them in the dark basement corner of your psyche and try to never let them out.
Yeah. And unfortunately, those bastards will really climb their way out one way or the other, whether it's going to come through.
Yeah. Shockingly, they don't like being in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just being able to talk about stuff. And, it's great to talk about consent and to teach it in schools and to, go into that. But the how is really not talked about enough, like in the moment. How do you ask for consent in the moment?
Yeah.
Let's say, let's go back to our like choking example.
Yeah, great.
Instead of like wrapping your hands right around somebody's throat, like that, I mean, that's one that you ask beforehand, but even in the moment, like, how's that feeling? Or does this feel good? Like, coming in gently, like, does that feel good? Okay, no, it doesn't. Okay. And ending that, wrapping that up with a, like, thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
Just having conversation or having consent conversations that are soft and just gently inquiring. Not is it okay if I choke you right now? It doesn't have to be clunky or weird. It's really a way of connecting of like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to just ask you about your boundaries because I really want to be close to you. One of the greatest things that I learned in Somatica about boundaries is telling somebody like, I really want to know your boundaries because that is how I get to have you.
Yeah, that's like romantic and sexy to say that.
I love that one because it's like, I want to know what's okay and not okay, because once I can really respect those and move around that,
yes,
I really get to be closer to you because you're going to feel safer with me and you're going to open up more.
It reminds me of like for some reason, I picture like a corral of horses. There's like a little fence around the horses. And it's like, you just need to know where the fence is so that you can play and frolic.
Yeah.
You know, when you don't know where the fence is, that in and of itself, for me, and I think for a lot of people, can lead to some anxiety and being a little in your head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you like imagine, walking across the Golden Gate Bridge and there's like no sides, that's really a scary place to be. But once you know the boundaries are.
Yeah. Or there's like an invisible electric fence and you're going to get shocked, but you just don't know when or where.
Yeah, you don't know where the fence is at all.
Right. Like, this is horrible. And yet, this is what most people do with sex.
Yeah. And then we become really afraid of each other's boundaries.
Yes.
And it's all about pushing the boundaries or, instead of being like, oh, okay, so these are the things that make my partner feel safe. What can I really do to beef that up so that they know that they can really relax with me?
That, I don't think I've ever heard that angle of it. Like, how can I increase the safety? It is much more about, like, I think boundaries often feel like pushing someone away,
Mm-hmm.
And I like this reframe of like, instead of even focusing on that, the boundary, how do I just increase the safety?
Yeah.
It's a really good angle.
And that's really kind of a low-key way of helping somebody relax into even, relaxing that boundary at all.
Right.
If somebody says, you know what, I get really self-conscious, during sex. And so I really need to have all the lights off. It's like, okay, instead of saying, well, how about a candle? Let's just turn it off. Let's really increase that safety.
Yeah.
And then, moving into the person could be like, you know what, maybe a candle is okay at some point. Maybe just the lowest level of light. But if it's like, no, you know what? I need to look right in your face. We need to have extreme eye contact the whole time. All the lights are on. We're actually going to get a ring light in. It's like, that's really going to make somebody really bunch up, and then you're never going to have that person feel open to you.
So it's a lot of it. What I'm hearing too is like patience, like you kind of got to give someone the space to be where they're at.
Yeah. Well, and I think that impatience really is coming from fear, right? Of like, oh no, I'm not going to get them the way that I want.
Yeah.
So anxiety comes and you're like, no, I've got to push the boundary. I've got to figure out how to get through.
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot with your partner.
Right. People can always sense that, and our bodies especially are so intuitive. I always have felt like my body knows before my mind knows if someone's feeling kind of safe and secure or not.
Yeah. I don't know if this is like going off on a weird path, but it reminds me of the difference between, people that are kinky and not, they don't classify them. I think everybody's a little bit kinky, but we'll just vanilla just, for ease. But is that in kink, it's so normal to have these conversations about like boundaries and consent and negotiating of like, okay, what do we want to happen? Or, how do we want to feel? And like, this is what I'm going to say when I'm like a little uncomfortable. Or this is what I'm going to say when we really need to stop because something bad's going on inside of me.
Yeah.
Without kink, it's like all these conversations tend to not happen. And everybody just starts assuming, okay, I think I know what's going to happen. And your partner has something totally different in mind. And then we're going to just come together and like hope for the best.
Right.
And then there's all this disappointment.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm even thinking as we're talking about this, because you're right, it's more normalized in the kink community. If you're not part of that, and just because sexual behavior is categorized as quote unquote vanilla, doesn't mean everyone's going to like it. So I'm also now just questioning, like, why do we only ask about certain things and other things are kind of like vanilla? That means everyone's going to like them. But I have plenty of clients who like aren't even that into kissing or don't really love oral sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The kissing thing is like a huge one.
Yeah.
Because there are people that just like, that's not really an important thing. And for your partner, they love like big, wet, sloppy kisses. And so you get together and you're like, gosh, and then they don't talk about it.
Right. Right. A lot of times people just kind of avoid the kissing and then eventually the partner kind of gets the drift.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I guess you're just not into this. But yeah, if you can have a conversation about it and explain, I think that often helps, like Yeah, is it the mouth sound? Some people have like what misophonia. It's like 10% of the population like hates mouth sounds just based on their genetics.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, well, let's identify if that's what's going on. You know, some people maybe it's a textural issue, but just like understand. I work with a lot of neurodivergent people. I'm neurodivergent, so like a lot of times there's just different sensory issues that we need to understand too. And I do think this is what can make it harder when it's like a new partner or more of a casual partner. But I say like still, I mean, you got to at least have like the basic consent conversations,
Mm-hmm.
safety conversations, you know?
I was listening to Dan Bridge a while back, and he was saying that one thing that he was really grateful for about being gay is that when two, gay men are talking, and they're talking about sex, they really launch into early, like, what are you into?
Yes.
And it's just a very like honest, open, straightforward conversation.
Yes.
Whereas heterosexual couples, it's like a secret, until like they've had sex 10 times. And then it's like maybe okay to talk about like likes and dislikes and preferences.
Yeah. That's interesting because I mean, I've had interesting experiences with that, just like on dating apps. I'm like,
Mhm.
how forward do I want to be? Because it's like I'm already a freaking sex therapist, at one point. And at one point, I was like pimping out my podcast. So I was like, my job is host of Ask a Sex Therapist podcast. So that people would like listen to the podcast. I had one guy listen to like 80 episodes before our first date, and I was like, fuck, this is weird. And he was like, yes, I learned a lot of things about you. I'm like, yes, I guess I do know like a tidbit in each episode, and they add up.
And then you know nothing about this person.
This is so weird. This is like not a great way to like get to know me.
It really depends on the app, right? What you can share. Like if you're on Bumble, you're just like, I like midnight walks. But if you're on, Field, then you can like really kind of throw everything out there.
And then you'll see the same people on the different. It's just funny. And then I'm like, I'm the same person. Maybe I should put the same things on all the apps. Like, do I care?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
But then I feel like, and I think a lot of women probably experience this, is like, if a guy asks a little bit about sex, if you engage at all, kind of like give him an inch, he will take a mile. So I wound up taking some of that off my profile because I just didn't want that many people kind of coming at me and trying to make a whole conversation about sex. I'm like, this is like 10% of what I put in my profile, and you're making it 100% of the photos.
That is like such a good point, because it's like, let's say you have in your profile, like you're into bondage,
Mm-hmm.
and then somebody comes in and it's like, yeah, I'm super into bondage, but not necessarily with you. Like, there's still needs to be like a conversation here. Like, I'm not in bondage the very first time I talk to you,
Right. Right. Like I actually want to like decide if I like you as a human, or maybe kiss you first, or just see if we have any chemistry. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I'm at, where like I want to establish chemistry, and if I even like this person first, and then have the conversation. Or I mean, like you said, it's ongoing. It's not like a one and done with the conversation. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do think on the Field app or places like that, you're at least going to get a higher percentage of people that are maybe more experienced. I think the more experienced people tend to not objectify you as much because they're like, okay, like I've done this. I kind of get how it works. They also want to get to know you as a human. But I think other people are just like, ooh, titillating, exciting. Let's talk more about that.
Yeah, I do still see it even with very experienced people with like the dom sub dynamic, where if you identify as a dominant, people will immediately message you with, hello goddess or whatever. And it's like, wait, we're just people right now. Like I haven't decided that, I'm going to own you or that you're going to be my submissive. Like, and you don't even going to like me as a dom. So like, let's just hold on and really be intentional about this dynamic that we're talking about. Or like if you're submissive, like somebody messaging you out of nowhere, like, are you going to be my little girl? It's like, wait, can we just talk about like how I want to feel?
Yeah, you're like, probably not based on that opening.
Absolutely no.
Oh.
And it's like, how many messages are you sending to people?
And I think it goes back to what you said with the erectile dysfunction of like being a whole person and treating people like a whole person. It's like, obviously I think sexuality is important or I wouldn't do this work, but it's just one aspect of who we are. You know, it's like all these different roles in life. You know, we're a family member and we're a friend and we're a worker and we're, you know, maybe we have hobbies we engage in or volunteering we do. You know, it's like you can be lots of things at once. And I think that's important to keep in mind, like when an anxiety comes up about your sexuality. It's like that is not all of who you are. It's one piece of the pie.
Yeah.
So we got a lot more work to do, Kristen.
Thank God, or else we'd be out of a job. It's like, well,
I suppose, but part of me is like, I'd love to be out of a job because the culture is so healthy and healed with sexuality. Yes. If we get to that point, I'm happy to be out of a job. You know, I'll find something else to do. But yeah, it is nice to see signs that we're starting to get there. Okay, let me see if there was anything else I wanted to ask you about. Low desire. We didn't talk about the low desire. So what do you commonly see with that?
The biggest thing is, you know, coming in, and it's I usually see women with this, but that's not, you know, across the board whatsoever. But my first question is, like, what is your life situation? And, you know, can you think of a time when your desire was higher?
Yes.
And how is that not matching up? And a lot of times with women, like you said something earlier about like when a guy asks you about, you know, what are you into? I know for a lot of people that are around my age, that question wasn't really asked to me for a very long time. I remember sharing something as a teenager with a boyfriend. It was like a fantasy.
Yeah.
And he thought it was a very slutty fantasy.
Well, I
know. So it was like, okay, well, that didn't go over well. And so really when you ask women, like, what are you into? It's like, it's silence. It's like, well, you know, and it's like, and even asking like, what do you fantasize about? Oh, that is like such a hard question for people. Like, I know when we first sit down, I know they're going to be lying to me because it's like, they're not really going to bring up. They don't want to tell me the real thing. And so like I have a core desires sheet that I'll often hand people. And it's really just a list of like a bunch of feelings.
Yeah.
And I say, you know, circle the ones that pop out to you like, ooh, I really like feeling this during sex. And a lot of them don't, you know, they're not complimentary all the time. Or I mean, they're like total opposites. You know, somebody wants to feel like honored and they also want to feel like degraded. And so, you know, like, let's just look at all the things.
Yeah.
And so, you know, once they've circled all their words, it's like, okay, so let's take a look at this. And how many of these feelings are really showing up for you the last, you know, 10, 20, 50 times you had sex? 0. So they're not really having the kind of sex that they want to have. Yeah. And then they're blamed for not being horny. And then you add in all of the light stuff that can just totally kill your arousal.
Yep.
And they have like nothing to go on. And then they're blamed for having a dead bedroom.
I know. Yeah. And then there's the pressure. And then the pressure itself makes the libido go down even more.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they get into this thing, you know, where their partner will say like, oh, well, you know, we had sex a few weeks ago and it was so hot. And like, what happened? And, you know, the person with the low desire is sitting there like, I don't know, you know, it just somehow worked. And then but then now there's this bar, right? Of like, okay, how do I get myself aroused like that again? How do I get myself in the mood? And that pressure of like trying to get horny is awful. Like it totally is taking you out of your body, which is working in the opposite direction of where you want to go.
Yeah.
Because now you're trying to solve this like a math problem.
Right. That's an unsexy way to solve sex.
Very unsexy. Not that sexy.
I love math. I do. But it's very different.
Yeah.
Not a helpful mode. Unless you're, I don't know. I know there's sapiosexuals out there. Maybe they're like, oh yeah, do that math.
Yeah, maybe it is sexy. Yeah. For me, not that sexy.
Okay, so I think what you're describing with the like low desire people is understandable. Like I think people can definitely relate to that. What do you find is most helpful for them in kind of finding their desire again?
Probably finding their core desire. That's number one, is how do they want to feel? And I mean, there are so many women that I see that just have never really had that full conversation with their partner. Or their partner is coming in with their own goal-oriented ideas of what sex should look like.
Yeah.
And then, but the woman doesn't have that idea. I had somebody come in, and it was an older man,
Mm-hmm.
and he was super disappointed that his wife had basically no desire.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking, and it turns out that she really loves her vibrator.
Okay.
And she loves mutual masturbation. She really got a lot from that. And it's like, okay, so somebody using their vibrator, like you're feeling, your arousal is up, you want to masturbate. It's self-pleasure. So she's using a toy that is working perfectly for her. And she also likes partnered sex as far as masturbation. So there's a lot that can be done to sort of bridge and figure out maybe he's not touching her in the right way, or maybe she's not really into penetrative sex. Like, we didn't even know. He was coming in basically saying, my wife is the problem because she doesn't want to have sex in the way that I want to have sex, in the way that I'm viewing what sex is.
Right.
And then he, calls up and says, well, I'm going to cancel my next appointment because my wife says that she's willing to keep trying. Didn't want to bring her in. And didn't even want to get to the good part of wait a second, there's this huge broad world of sexuality, and you're not being curious enough about your partner. There's all these ways that she is able to orgasm, that she's able to really tap into her sexuality, but not interested because it doesn't look like what I think it look like.
And that, I think you're bringing up another really important point, that we kind of keep open minds.
Yeah.
I have found the same thing with clients. I had a client couple that I was seeing, and one of them was just not very open to seeing his partner in a different light. Yeah. And kind of had this idea of how sex should be. And I think that we're kind of doing ourselves a disservice. Maybe he'll be able to go and find that with someone else, but maybe not. But yeah, I love the first sex therapy book I read was Sexual Intelligence by Marty Klein, and he talks a lot about just your sex life is going to shift over decades, and we have to adjust with the changes in our life and in our body. And I thought that was just so wise. So kind of hold on loosely, Yeah.
And the curiosity thing is so important to hang on to. Because, as a relationship matures, we really stop being curious about our partner.
Very true.
They say something to us and we assume the worst. We allow it to trigger us. We assume what they're thinking. We assume their motives when they're saying that. We're not curious about what hurts they have anymore. And so not just with, physical sex, but just relating, of just, when there's a conflict, the biggest piece of having a repair conversation is coming in with that empathy and that curiosity, right? And just, okay, instead of assuming that my partner hates my guts and they want
which for the record is very unlikely. If they literally,
it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
Let me come in with, okay, so, it sounds like you're saying this. Is that true? Is that right? Is that am I hearing what you're saying? That number one, if that piece could just be done, relationships would be so much better, of just clarifying before jumping to your deepest core wound has now been destroyed. It's hold on, let's find out first. And it's the same thing with sex.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I feel like you've dropped a lot of knowledge bombs on us today, and I feel good about it. Thank you for kind of just sharing all your wisdom. And if people are curious to work with you, is there anything else you would like to add? Otherwise, I'm just going to send them to the link.
Well, I can't say anything else because otherwise people won't come to see me, because then I'm
and funny. So anyways, yes, if you guys are curious about working with Kristen, we will link to a scheduling button in the show notes where you can book a free consultation and just chat a little bit more about your situation, see if it's a good fit, and if you want to move forward with some coaching. So, but I am very grateful to have you on the team. I think you're wonderful.
Very grateful to be here.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And we will catch you next week on another episode of Ask a Sex Therapist. Bye.